Hi everyone, this is Taryn. Welcome back to another episode of the Man to Man Coverage Podcast. I have my good friend and co-host Mason joining me.
What's up, guys?
And Mason, how are you doing today?
Pretty good. It's a nice Wednesday morning, getting ready for another week of football.
Yep. We had a pretty good week of football last week. No overtime games, the first time this season to have a week with no games going to overtime, but I thought there's still a lot of fun matchups, a lot of revenge games. So today's podcast, we have a couple neat ideas we're going to do. The first thing is we're going to talk about every coach in the NFL. We're going to go division by division, um, basically all 8 divisions, and talk about if we think a team should fire the coach or not. So the terms we're going to use is going to be fired or continue to inspire. Uh, that's what I'm gonna do. So we're gonna start here with the NFC West. So going through the NFC West, we have the Arizona Cardinals, Cliff Kingsbury. I will say continue to inspire. He's done a good job this year. I think this season's really saved him because I think he was on the hot seat before, but he stays. Sean McVay of the LA Rams continue to inspire, one of the top tier coaches in our league. The Kyle Shanahan, the San Francisco 49ers, is an interesting one because I know there's been kind of some debate. The thing of Kyle Shanahan is if you fire him, who are you going to hire that's better than him? He's a good offensive mind. I'll say wait till next year. Next year, you're probably going to have Trey Lance play the full season. So I'll say for another year or so, have Kyle Shanahan continue to inspire. And then Pete Carroll of the Seattle Seahawks, I think should get fired. We've talked about this a lot. I just think that he's kind of past his coaching prime. He's really not making his players better. So overall, that's what I'll say about the NFC West.
Yeah, Cardinals. I feel like the Cardinals and Rams are pretty much no-brainers.
Mm-hmm.
Cliff Kingsbury's done a great job this year, 7-0. Definitely continue to inspire. And then Sean McVay, he's been a great coach since he's came in, and nothing he's done this year says otherwise. So obviously, continue to inspire. Kyle Shanahan, I think, is the most interesting one. He's done a lot of questionable things this year. The way he's handled Brandon Ayuk in his quarterback situation is very poor, in my opinion. He basically doesn't use Brandon Ayuk at all in his offense, even though he would make a big difference because when he plays, he's very good. And then he loves Jimmy G, and I know he doesn't want to start Trey Lance yet, but this week he's like, I guess Jimmy will start. It's like I don't think your coach wants to say I guess, but for now, continue to inspire. He was just in the Super Bowl a couple of years ago, and then Pete Carroll. I think he should be fired, but I do think I would love him to see him go after that opening spot in USC, return back to his college roots. I think that'd be pretty cool. But I think his time in the NFL, at least on the Seahawks, is definitely it should be over pretty soon.
Yeah, there's rumors about Mike Tomlin, the Steelers head coach, going to like USC. If anything, Pete Carroll should go
That would be really
back. But
cool.
yeah, I think you said, I agree with a lot of you said. So it looks like we kind of agree on the NFC West. Going to the NFC South, you have Matt Rule of the Carolina Panthers. This is a one that's in between for me because I think that you could make a case for both. However, the Panthers are still young. I would say continue to inspire from Matt Rule. Arthur Smith, the Atlanta Falcons, I'm kind of neutral on him. I don't like love him. I don't hate him. I think he's done a good job getting Kyle Pitts involved. You saw in this past Dolphins game where the Falcons did win. It was nice to see that offense kind of get going. So I'll say continue to inspire. Sean Payton with the Saints, I think you keep him one of the better coaches in the NFL. And Bruce Arians with the Buccaneers, I think you keep. I think the NFC South, you're pretty good for at least the next year or two.
Yeah, Bruce Arians definitely continuing to inspire. He's done a great job this year. His whole coaching staff has. He literally just came off a Super Bowl win, and they're like 6-1. There's no reason they should move off him. Sean Payton, honestly, I believe the Saints are 4-3 at the moment. I think that's a great record for what their situation is because Jameis Winston's not a bad quarterback, but he's not a top tier quarterback. So I think being 4-3 the year after Drew Brees retires, I think that's great for him. So
Mm-hmm.
definitely keep him. Matt Rule, I think he's in a Cliff Kingsbury situation where he had a promising year one. Year two looks a little disappointing, and year three will really be the deciding factor. So I think you keep him on at least until next season, to see if he at least improves. Because I do kind of like him as a coach still, but I do agree his team's young. They're going to lose some games they shouldn't. And then Arthur Smith, I think he's just too much of a brand new coach. I think it's too early to move on from him. So I'm with you. Continue to inspire for all these guys, for sure.
I love that name, continue to inspire. um, One thing that's interesting about Sean Payton of the Saints is that this is something like I've heard is that none of like Saints assistant coaches ever get hired. It's just kind of interesting because usually great teams, the coaches, get like assistant coaches get hired other places. But Sean Payton, that doesn't really happen. I just think that speaks to how great he is. The NFC East, this is I think one of the more tougher divisions. Nick Sirianni, I think he should get fired. I was very high on Nick Sirianni with the Eagles, but he just doesn't have that leadership. And I really liked his offensive play calling ideas, but they have not executed at all. I think he should get fired, but the Eagles said that they're going to keep him for more than a year. So, okay. Mike McCarthy with the Cowboys. I'm not the biggest fan of Mike McCarthy, but he's done a good job. I think he should stay. Now the Giants and Washington, two teams who I think are very similar positions. I think Ron Rivera should get fired, the Washington football coach. And the reason why is that, he is supposed to be a great defensive mind. Where's that defense? I'm trying to look for it, don't see it. That offense really isn't there, and he's not making these players better. That's what a coach is supposed to do, and he's not doing that. So I think he should get fired. I love Ron Rivera. He's a fantastic dude. I have a lot of respect and honor for him. But I just don't feel like that. It's so hard being defensive coach nowadays, and he doesn't have the, I think, like presence, or he doesn't really have the schemes to really be successful. While Joe Judge, Giants head coach, I think he should continue to inspire. Yeah, the Giants only have 2 wins. That's not that good, but I feel like he keeps his team fighting. And I feel like that's just something that is very kind of unique. Like, right, you saw this past week when the Giants beat the Panthers. The Giants were pulling out these trick plays. They had like 20 million people injured, and yet they still won. So I think Joe Judge sometimes gets too much heat. So I think he should continue to inspire. So that's what I'll say about the NFC East.
Yeah, I think NFC East definitely has a weaker group of coaches, in my opinion. Mike McCarthy, I know his Cowboys are off to a great start. He's going to continue to inspire for me. I just don't think he's a great coach. I just really like the entire Cowboys coaching staff. I think he assembled a good coaching staff, but I don't think he's the main reason why they're doing so well. I think it's kind of just their entire crew.
Yeah.
Nick Sirianni, I'm going to say continue to inspire just for now. I like some of the things he's brought. He's also a new young coach, so I have to give him a little bit of time. I think his biggest flaw right now is just not committing to the run game. Miles Sanders getting like 8 carries a game just can't happen. You have to give him the ball more, but I think at least you keep him on for another year, see what he does. So I think he is a good players coach. I feel like a lot of the players do like him on the team. Um, Unlike Doug Pearson from last year.
No, no.
And then yeah, talking about Washington football, I think this might come as a surprise that we both agree on this, but I also think Ron Rivera should be fired. I think he's been a great coach throughout his career, but kind of like the Pete Carroll situation, I think his time is just and his schemes really just don't work. I mean, I think there's better defensive coordinators in the NFL than Ron Rivera. Like I think Dan Quinn has done a better job than Ron Rivera this
Which is
year.
really saying something, to be
Yeah, I
honest.
think even Vance Joseph of the Arizona Cardinals, I think he's done a fantastic job this year. Um, just to name a couple, I just think I think he's outdated in the NFL, which sucks to say because he's a great guy, but you have to tell it how it is. And then Giants Joe Judge, I think you keep him on for another year. I really like. I think he's just like a good coach, if that makes sense. I think he's a really
Hmm.
sound coach when it comes to leadership, having the respect of the players, and I think he does do a good job of getting the best out of his players. I mean, the Giants defense has been disappointing this year, but that doesn't all fall on him. It's more of a
Exactly.
collective effort. And then even Daniel Jones has had his best year so far. He's had Daniel Jones games where he's not good, but he's also had really good games. And I think Joe Judge is a big part of that, getting the best out of his players. And then even getting like a guy like Kadarius Toney. I mean, Before he got hurt, he was absolutely going crazy, balling out. So yeah, I love Joe Judge as the Giants coach. I just don't think he has um, enough talent yet.
Yeah, it's weird because like Joe Judge and Ron Rivera are very similar but different. Like I said, Ron Rivera is outdated. I feel like that Ron Rivera really kind of fit the power running schemes of the mid 2010s, but we're just not there. And I don't think he's made the adjustments necessary. All right, the NFC North, the Chicago Bears, Matt Nagy fired. See you later. Green Bay Packers, Matt LaFleur continued to inspire. He's done a really good job with this Packers team. Detroit Lions, Dan Campbell. I think he's going to continue to inspire, yell, cry. I love how he gets into games. I actually think the Lions' game plans, like they're not too bad of a team. I think that they're really a quarterback, wide receiver, and edge rusher away, which might sound like a lot, but you draft quarterback in the draft with like your first pick, then you probably go and get wide receiver in free agency, like someone top end like Chris Godwin, and then you get an edge rusher. I think the Lions are only a couple pieces away. And then Mike Zimmer with the Minnesota Vikings, I think he should get fired. We've talked about this a good amount, so I don't want to dive into detail. It's kind of like the Ron Rivera situation. I think Zimmer would actually be a good coordinator, but I just don't think he's really the right head coach for the job. So ultimately, I think NFC North it's split with two to stay, two to go.
Yeah, I think this one's pretty easy. Packers, pretty obvious. LaFleur stays. He's done nothing but win since he's gone to Green Bay and continues to do so. Um, Mike Zimmer, I think he needs to be fired. I think the only good season he really had was that year they went to the NFC Championship game, and I think
They
they're
had
still
some
kind of
good years before that.
yeah, I think they're still kind of riding on that high in 2017, 2018 though, and I don't think they realize they've kind of come back down to earth because that's a very talented team. I think they're underperforming um, for sure. And then talking about Dan Campbell, I think he's a fantastic coach. The biggest mistake the Lions could ever make is firing him because I think he is so perfect for that city. I think
Hmm.
everything he brings is just fantastic. Matt Nagy, yeah, he is a horrible coach. I think he's honestly one of the worst coaches in the NFL at the moment. The way he's handled this Justin Field situation has been extremely poor.
Yeah.
It's almost like he was peer pressured into starting his quarterback. It's like you're the coach, you need to know what's best for your team. And obviously starting Justin Fields this early has not been best for the team. And his play calling has been horrendous. So yeah, I definitely think the Bears need to move on from Matt Nagy.
Yeah, I think the whole Bears thing has just been tough. I don't think Justin Fields was ready, and I think he was pressured into Bears
Mhm.
fans, like who went to a bench Andy um Dalton, which I always liked that move because my whole thing was that yeah, Fields is talented, but he's not ready. And I
Mhm.
feel like so many people are like, oh, it's Andy Dalton. Oh, we suck. But I'm like, Andy Dalton's somewhat decent. So I just think I was always kind of a fan of that. I think what happened is expectations. Bears fans wanted Russell Wilson. There's a trade rumor there. Then they get Andy Dalton. But I just feel like, I don't know, the whole, like, I know, Mason, you like Justin Fields. Like, is there anything else you want to say about that?
I don't know. I think Justin Fields is a talented
He is.
kid, and I think he's a great quarterback. But I just think this situation as of now, it's just too early for him to play. I think
Hmm.
they're not doing him, especially just the play calling and everything around him just does not work. So I think, and I really like Andy Dalton as an intermediate 1 year starter. And I think Fields would be great to start in year two, but I don't know. Matt Nagy just literally got peer pressured by the fans, which I think it's so dumb that he listened to the fans instead of knowing what's best for his team, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it is kind of sad to hear. All right, I want to go to the AFC. AFC North, Mike Tomlin with the Steelers. I think he should continue to inspire top tier coach year in and year out. Always kind of just does a good job. John Harbaugh of the Ravens continue to inspire. Not a lot to say about him. Same with Kevin Stefanski with the Browns and Zach Taylor with the Bengals. I think all four should stay. I think Kevin Stefanski is going to make the Browns a good team. I don't think they're going to be like a Super Bowl team every year, but I think they're going to be a good team who wins like 10 games or so. And then I like what Zach Taylor's doing. The Bengals kind of turning the ship around. Yes, all it has to do with Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase was so fun to watch. I mean, that game against the Ravens this past week was fantastic for them. But I think a lot of credit also has to go to Zach Taylor. So I think AC North, I think it's going to be a really fun division. once the Steelers get a new quarterback who can throw the football accurately, it's going to be a fun division to watch.
Yeah, for sure. I think the Ravens and the Steelers, I think Mike Tomlin and John Harbaugh are going to stay on that team
Hmm.
until they retire, honestly. I think they both cemented their legacies in each of that cities, and they've both brought Super Bowl wins and great seasons year in and year out. So I definitely think they'll continue to inspire. They're pretty much the heart and soul of each organization. I love John Harbaugh. I think he's one of my favorite coaches in the NFL.
Yeah.
Um, and then Kevin Stefanski, I think he's done a really good job, especially having to fill the shoes of Freddie Kitchens, which are big shoes to fill. No, I'm just kidding. It's pretty easy to do better than what he did, but he's doing a really good job. I mean, that win on Thursday night against the Broncos told me a lot about him because he got his guys to rally around, especially when they were down a lot of players. I mean, it's like the 49ers last year. They're just like missing every single starter, it seems. But they found a way to win, which is also always good. Never makes up excuses. And then Zach Taylor, yeah, I mean, there's a reason why they're the number one team in the AFC at the moment. They're a really good team. I don't know if Zach Taylor is the main reason for that, but he definitely has a decent involvement in why that offense is doing good. So I definitely like him. So yeah, definitely all these coaches in the AFC North are here to inspire still.
Yeah. I honestly forgot Freddie Kitchens was the coach of Browns. That was terrible. Oh my goodness. AFC East, Bill Belichick continue to inspire. Yeah, he's not been at the Bill Belichick greatness this year, but I mean, he can still put together a really good game plan, get you those wins. Sean McDermott continue to inspire. I think that, he's just done a great job with the Bills. Brian Flores, I'm going to say continue to inspire. I don't think he should get fired. I know a lot of people want Flores gone. I think that's more of the coordinator stuff than him as a head coach. I think that this Dolphins roster isn't that great. And I think that has to do with more of Chris Greer, the general manager, than Flores. I'll give Flores another year. I mean, they won 10 games last season. That's super impressive. I know they only have one win, but I don't know. I just feel like wait for Flores for another year. And then Robert Sala, I'm gonna say continue to inspire. I know a lot of people want him fired. I just don't think it's a good roster. I think the draft moves he made were good this season, but Carl Lawson, the Jets' big free agent signing, got hurt. Zach Wilson's been kind of up and down. I feel like honestly it's more of a coordinator thing than Sala. I think Sala needs to stay. I know Jets fans don't like him, and yes, it's been disappointing, but I think firing him, I just don't know if that's the right move. So I'm gonna keep all four AFC East coaches. I know a bit of a hot take, but I just feel like if you fire Flores from the Dolphins and Sala from the Jets, is that really solving your issues? I don't really think it is, to be honest.
Yeah, no. Patriots definitely an easy one. Bill Belichick. Like I said about the Ravens and Steelers, he's gonna be there until the day he retires, without a doubt in my head. Or if he wants to leave, obviously, maybe he just wants to go to another team, but I doubt that. The
Goes to Tampa
Patriots,
Bay.
yeah, the Patriots aren't doing great this year, but I don't know. I think this team isn't that good enough to make a playoff run, honestly. So I don't. It's not really a team issue. It's just kind of like a retooling phase, not a rebuilding, but kind of just retooling their team. And they also have a rookie quarterback, who's done
Mhm.
fantastic, by the way. Um, Sean McDermott easily continuing to inspire. I've loved him ever since he's been on that Bills coaching staff. He's honestly made a lot of good other coaches, I feel like, under his
Mhm.
wing.
He really
Um,
has. He's a great teacher.
yeah, he's been really great. I just really love the entire Bills coaching staff, and I think Sean McDermott's a really big reason why they're all doing so well. Brian Flores, yeah, I agree with you. It's really hard this year to say continue to inspire, but you look at previous years, it's hard to fire him, excuse me. Um, I think it's just another situation of you have a lot of injuries and this team's kind of still in the rebuilding phase. I mean, you don't really know what you have yet with Tua. And I wouldn't fire Brian Flores if Tua doesn't work out because I don't think that pick was solely on him. I actually think I heard a report that he kind of wanted Herbert a little bit in the draft process. Um, but yeah, he comes from a Patriots background. I think he's a fantastic coach. I think all the players absolutely love him. And I honestly think he's turned the culture around because if you remember, like
Mhm.
Adam Gase was kind of like dysfunctional and
Oh
chaotic.
yeah.
And what he's brought is sound and fundamental football to that organization. And then I'm blanking on the last team.
The Jets with
Yeah,
Robert
the Jets.
Saleh.
Yeah, Robert Saleh. I don't think they should fire him at all. This is also a very young team. If anyone had expectations that they were going to win 4 more games, I mean, that's on you. This team is so young and so brand new. It's going to take time for everyone to mesh. But yeah, definitely continue to inspire. I love Robert Saleh as a coach.
Yeah, I think Saleh is someone that I'll be like, oh, fire him. I'm like, okay, if you fire him, who are you gonna hire that's gonna be better, right? You could maybe go for like a
Mhm.
Joe Brady, who's the offensive coordinator for the Panthers. But then again, the Panthers have been yikes. I mean, they lost to the Giants by 22 points. So I don't know. I just think people are really quick to react. As you see in the Instagram comment section, I mean, the Jets are just not a team that's going to compete. Give Saul time. I just think that I like him too, and as a person, he just seems like a really great dude. I don't know. I feel like firing him would be the wrong move. Okay, AFC South. Frank Reich with the Colts. I think he should continue to aspire. One of my favorite coaches. Just seems like a really nice guy. Just good, sound head coach. What you want in someone who's a great leader, good at play calling, good team builder. David Coley with the Texans. See you later. Fired. I think he seems like a nice person. And you watch his interviews; he's very well spoken. But I just don't know about a head coach. I think he'd be actually pretty good as a coordinator. Urban Meyer with the Jaguars. See you later. And then Mike Vrabel with the Titans. I think should continue to inspire. He's done a good job. He has kind of hoorah personality, but he's also someone who is. I feel like someone who gets the players involved well, keeps that team fighting. And I like the Titans with him because before Mike Vrabel, the Titans was such a boring team. With Vrabel, the Titans are exciting. They have these big wins, and I think they could win a Super Bowl with him. He kind of reminds me a bit of a John Harbaugh mixed with Pete Carroll. So, yeah, I think the AFC South, you keep 2 coaches and you fire the other 2.
Yeah, I think the Titans found an absolute gem in Mike Vrabel. I think he's a fantastic coach. He's done nothing but win since he's got there as well. And he's even produced good coordinators such as Matt LaFleur, um, who's gone on to do great things in Green Bay.
Oh
But
yeah,
no, he's
that's
been a great,
right. Yeah.
yeah, he's just been a fantastic coach. And when you make good coordinators like that, you know you're doing something right. Um, and they're a good team. There's no reason why they should ever fire him. Uh, Jaguars, Urban Meyer. I kind of liked him before preseason, and then ever since preseason, he has been absolutely atrocious. I mean, he's had off the field incidents where it's been very distracting to the team. He's already had to apologize like 3 times, and it's like we're only like 7 weeks in.
It's
This
been
dude's
bad.
averaging more apologies than wins. Um, so
Um,
it's never a good thing. I think Trevor Lawrence could flourish a lot more with a new coach, so I think that's why they should move on. Um, and, then David Coley, I don't like him as a coach at all. I think he'd be a good coordinator, but there was literally a time this year where it was like 4th and 2, but there was a penalty. There was like a penalty, and they could have gotten the ball back, and it would have been like 3rd down. They could have went for it, but David Coley decided to punt instead of going for the 1st down, and they lost that game. And he literally said after the game, he's like, I thought it was the best thing for the team. It's like, okay, that's just horrible. That's like some stuff you do in Madden. Like that doesn't make any sense.
Not
Um,
even in Madden, because in Madden you go for it.
yes, it makes no. I don't even know how to describe it. It's just you go for it on 3rd down, no matter the distance, instead of 4th down and punting it. Um, yeah, so definitely don't like him there. But then Frank Reich, I really like him as a coach. He's dealt with a lot of injuries, but he still fought through it. I think this Colts team is honestly, I think they're very underrated. I know their record isn't impressive, but I think they've dealt with a lot of injuries, like Quentin Nelson, which is the heart and soul of that team, and then even Carson Wentz having 2 sprained ankles and playing on them. I thought that was really impressive of him, by the way. And I think Carson Wentz is having a very good, solid year. I think not a lot of people are talking about it. He's still making Carson Wentz mistakes where he throws the ball and you're like, dude, why are you throwing the ball there? Um, uh, but he's also had really great games, especially that 49ers game. I think that was a good win, especially in the pouring rain. But Yeah, I think Frank Reich's done a great job for that entire Colts team.
Yeah, I like what you said about Carson. He has one interception, 11
Mhm.
touchdowns to only one pick. He's playing very well, which is nice to see. And I like how he's playing under the Colts. So yeah, I like what you said there, Mason. And the difference between David Coley and someone like a Brian Flores and Robert Sala is just I don't think David Coley has that leadership. You don't really see guys rally behind him. I'm getting a lot of Steve Wilkes vibes from him, which yikes. If y'all know, Steve Wilkes was the head coach of the Cardinals. Nice guy. Seems like a cool dude. I just don't think he has that coaching ability. AFC West, Andy Reid with the Chiefs continue to inspire. You know, enough said. Brandon Staley with the Chargers continue to inspire. He's done a great job. I think he's going to be someone who's with this team for like the next 10, 15 years or so. The Raiders, they're probably going to find someone new. I do like the coach they have now, and you have 2 wins under him, so maybe I'll keep him, but we'll see. And then the Broncos, Vic Fangio can get out of there and complain about the Ravens on his couch watching TV. So that's what I'll say about all the NFL coaches of who should get fired. And I think we're about half and half.
Mhm. Yeah. Chiefs, Andy Reid, there's no reason he should ever be fired. Another situation where he's probably going to be there until he retires or wants to leave. Brandon Staley's done a great job for the Chargers. Love him for what he's done defensively for that team, and even offensively, he's been really good. And then uh, Raiders, yeah, I don't know. I think they might stick with the guy they have now. I'm blanking on his name, but I think they're going to stick with him just because he seems like he's done a pretty good job. They might get rid of him. We'll have to see come
Mhm.
off-season time if they like someone else. Maybe Jay Gruden, the brother of John, maybe, I don't know. And then Broncos, Vic Fangio, he needs to be fired. He's a great coordinator, was great for the Bears, but a horrible coach and a
Mhm.
horrible. He's a sore loser, is basically
Mhm.
what I'm trying to say. He's gonna watch the Ravens on his TV breaking multiple rushing yards, and he's gonna be mad about it because he started off 3-0 against poor teams, and we even talked about if they're pretenders or contenders. I think we both said they're kind of pretenders, and then our our takes have hold up very true as of as of now.
Yeah. So it sucks because I wanted to like Vic Fangio, but he just no, like I don't
Especially
know.
as a Ravens fan, I don't no way you can
Yeah.
like him ever.
Mm-hmm. Also, he talks so nasally. He's like, "Ew." I'm like, okay, dude. So now, everyone, we're going to be doing our second segment of the show. One I'm very, very excited for. So what we're going to do is we each pick 2 teams, and we're going to basically re kind of cast these teams coaching. So basically, um, so I have the Bears and the Vikings. Mason, you have the Jaguars and Broncos. So what we did is that we basically said, what if the Bears and all these other teams fired the whole coaching staff? So we basically rebuilt this coaching staff. So the rules were the OC, the offensive coordinator we picked, had to be someone who was not an OC or below. So they could have been a college coach or like a running back or wide receiver coach. Defensive coordinator, same thing. It had to be a positional coach. And then the head coach had to be an OC or DC. So basically, we had to kind of promote guys into positions. This is a huge what if scenario. Call this Marvel what if, but none of this is real. It's just kind of if we were the GMs of these teams, what would we do? I thought this was kind of fun to do. Um, so Mason, are you ready?
Yes.
All right. So the Chicago Bears, one of the great legacy teams in all of football. When people think of the Bears, you think of the 1985 Chicago Bears, the defense that ravaged quarterbacks, the talent on the Bears teams from Mike Ditka to William the Fridge Perry and to Walter Payton. The Bears have been a great legacy team until now. The Bears are coached by Matt Nagy, who looks like Dr. Eggman from the freaking Sonic games. This team is not doing well. Okay, the Bears are not a nice team. No, they are an elite franchise, and they need to be coached as so. The offensive coordinator, the Chicago Bears have some great running backs, and that's why Stump Mitchell should be the new offensive coordinator of the Chicago Bears. First of all, he looks pretty awesome. That beard, he's serious, okay? And what I love about him is that he has helped this Browns running game, not only the Cleveland Browns, but he goes Ricky Walters, Sean Alexander, Clinton Portis, David Johnson, and so many more elite players. The Bears have people like the rookie Khalil Herbert, the best Herbert in the NFL. They have David Montgomery, a rising star, and Damian Williams, the veteran. I am taking Stump Mitchell as the new offensive coordinator for the Chicago Bears. The current run game coordinator of the Browns make him the new OC. Next up here, we have Marcus Robertson, the defensive backs coach for the Cardinals. I'm going to make him the DC of the Bears. Okay, this Bears defense is nice. We don't want a nice defense. We want something elite, and that's what Robinson has. This Cardinals secondary has been flying around like crazy. Buda Baker, Byron Murphy, Robert Alford, they have all played really great. And I think Robertson is someone who can step in there and improve that Chicago Bears defense. Marcus Robertson, welcome to the Windy City. And now the big man, that head coach, will bring Brian Dabel to the Bears. First of all, Brian Dabel looks pretty awesome. The beard, he looks like he could kill a bear. He's not going to kill the Bears. He's going to help the Bears kill his enemies and opponents. He's the head coach. In all seriousness here, when assembling this Bears coaching staff, I think they need someone who not only is a great play calling a head coach candidate, but has that strength. So Brian Dabel, the current offensive coordinator for the Bills, has done so much with Josh Allen. I think him being the head coach, bringing him in with Justin Fields could really do wonders. So I think he should be a head coach. I like him with the Bears. Stump Mitchell, I think, could be really good for the offense with running the football with the running backs I mentioned, but also you have Justin Herbert. And then Marcus Robinson. I like the Cardinals defense, and I think he's done a good part. So that's what I have for the Bears coaching staff. I think they kind of need that personality and grit. And I think Dabel can add that. And I think you're going to focus on improving your secondary and helping the running game and offense because Justin Fields can run and he's young and he needs a good running game to rely on. So that's my pitch for the Bears coaching staff. Mason, what do you think of that?
Yeah, I think Dabel's a fantastic pick as a head coach. Been an absolute stud for the Bills. And then you can even see he coached in New England for 11 seasons. He was, won a championship as an offensive coordinator in Alabama. So all he knows is winning, basically, is what I'm trying to say. Which is great for this Bears organization that hasn't had winning for quite some time now.
Yep.
Consistently, at least. And then for the Cardinals, coach Marcus Robertson, I think the Cardinals secondary has been overachieving for the talent that honestly we have. I mean, we have a rookie cornerback starting in Robert Alford, and I think Marcus Robertson has done a good job of mixing in veterans and young players in that secondary. And then Buda Baker, he's been flying around. And Jalen Thompson, not a lot of people know about him, but he's a very good safety as well in that defensive backfield. And then Stump Mitchell, I love this pick for the offensive coordinator. I mean, you just look at some of the guys he's coached. He coached Sean Alexander during his MVP year. He coached David Johnson during his MVP campaign. And he's coached, obviously, Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt. So he's done a fantastic job with his running backs. And matching him up with David Montgomery, I think could do serious damage to this league. You could see David Montgomery becoming maybe a top 7 back in the NFL with Stump as his lead guy. So I think that'd be really good for them. But no, I really like this Bears lineup you got.
Yeah, I don't know why Stump Mitchell hasn't been a coordinator. Like he's coached so many great running backs. Give him a chance. And yeah, I really like this for the Bears. So thanks, Mason. I appreciate that. So anyways, you have the first team, which is the Jaguars. So if you want to start with your
Yeah.
pitch,
Yeah.
let me
So
know when you're ready.
my head coach from the Jaguars, Byron Leftwich, I think this makes too much sense. I mean, he literally was one of the best Jacksonville quarterbacks.
Oh, that's right.
So I think this only makes sense. He kind of goes back to his roots. And not only that, but his 3 years as an offensive coordinator in Tampa Bay have been all really well. A lot of that has to do with the talent, but I think he knows how to use that talent very effectively. Even Tom Brady loves Byron Leftwich, which I think says a lot because Tom Brady really didn't like Josh McDaniels in his later years in New England. But he said nothing good about Byron Leftwich, and he was the offensive coordinator, the interim offensive coordinator for the Cardinals in the 2018 year after they fired Mike McCoy. And he did a really good job of filling that role. I thought honestly he would have maybe stayed as the offensive coordinator, but Bruce Arians um, hired him over to his staff, and he also was a Cardinals QB coach, excuse me, during Carson Palmer's MVP run, which I think says a lot about him
Oh,
as well. I think he's very young. He's 41. But I think this is what the Jacksonville team needs. I think they need a young coach who brings new ideas to that offense. Because I don't think a guy like Urban Meyer really does that. I think he brings over old schemes in college that don't even work in college nowadays. So love my pick for head coach. Offensive coordinator, I'm going to go Anthony Weaver. He's a run game coordinator and a defensive line coach, so you kind of get the best of both worlds. But we're going to have him as offensive coordinator. Kind of like what you said, Tanner, about Stump Mitchell. The Ravens' run game has been fantastic for the past couple of years, and I think Anthony Weaver is a big part of that. And then even talking about the defensive line, I mean, the Ravens are notoriously good for having a great defensive line. Um, so I think he does that great, but what he's done with the run game is fantastic. I mean, he's using a mixture of Latavius Murray, Le'Veon Bell, Tyson Williams, and Devontae Freeman, and it's working out fantastically. I mean, he's out with J.K. Dobbins and Gus Edwards, and he's still finding a way to get that ball moving. So I think he's done a great job for them. And then defensive coordinator, I love this pick, Branston Buckner. I think he's one of the most well-respected defensive line coaches in the NFL. He really has reshaped that Cardinals defensive line. He was even the Raiders defensive line coach for a little bit, then they decided to let him go. And then ever since then, their defensive line has kind of plummeted. Um, and the Cardinals have only gotten better. I mean, you see guys like Fotu, many people don't know about. He's a fourth round pick a couple years or last year. He's been fantastic. Zach Allen, he's really emerged as a
mm-hmm.
solid young player.
Fun to see.
The way he uses JJ Watt is fantastic. He kind of uses him as an Aaron Donald role where he will line him up on the outside, but he kind of uses him in the inside to really just basically cause chaos. And then Marcus Golden's having a very underrated year. I mean, he has 6 sacks and 4 forced fumbles. And then obviously he has Chandler Jones to work with, but one of the most well-respected defensive minds in the NFL. And I think it's kind of overdue that he gets a coordinator position because he's just been fantastic everywhere he's been.
Yeah, I really like what you said, Mason. I kind of disagree with some of them. The thing is, I like Byron Leftwich. I just don't know about the court about a head coach. I'm kind of getting some Steve Wilkes vibes with him. I just don't know about him as a head coach. I think some people work better as coordinators and a head coach, and I feel like that he's a very good person in terms of scheming up things. But I don't know, the Jaguars need some strong leadership. I don't know that it'll be interesting. I definitely think he could be someone who he's kind of like Todd Bowles is a really great coordinator, but as a head coach, he struggled. That's kind of heavy by left, which but I do like the consideration. Um, do you have anything to respond to that?
No, I mean, yeah, I think Byron Leftwich is it either can go both ways. I think he can either be
Mm-hmm.
a great coach or it could be a dumpster fire, which I think is a little risky for the Jaguars, but I think
It's
it's I
better than
think
what they have.
yeah.
I really love Anthony Weaver, that pick a lot. He just has been a really good coach on the Ravens coaching staff. I like how you choose him as the offensive coordinator because that running game experience is great. But also being a D line coach, he knows how the D line plays. So as an offensive coordinator, he could kind of use that to his advantage. I really love that pick. And I think Anthony Weaver should get a OC job. I think that he deserves it. And then I really also do like Branston Buckner as well for the Cardinals. I think that's a really good choice to have for the Jaguars because that D line is something they invested heavily in, and it's really not been that great. They struggled up there, and I think he could also help someone like a Josh Allen on that line really improve. So yeah, overall, I like the choices, and I think that for the Jaguars, this is a more sound route because who they have, they just have like a bunch of college guys. So I really like the coordinators you picked.
Yeah, for sure. I definitely think not only that, but I think Weaver and Branston Buckner, like you said, bring a lot of NFL experience, which I think the Jaguars definitely need instead of college experience for sure.
Exactly. So now for the Vikings, I'm not going to be sales pitching this, but I still do like it. So I have Matt Campbell as my head coach. He is currently at Iowa State, and Iowa State has been a nice team. They don't have the most elite talent, but they have been competing game in and game out, and that's what I think Matt Campbell should be. I think the Vikings kind of need to coach like a leader guy. That's something I do like about Mike Zimmer. Is he's a good leader. Like we said about Mike Zimmer, we just think kind of his peak is gone. I think Campbell can be that leader and kind of be an innovative person. I think college coaches are very risky, but I think he could be a good balance of innovation and leadership. Next up for the offensive coordinator, I have Jeff Stoutland. He is the current offensive line coach of the Eagles, also helps with the running game. He's been the offensive line coach of the Eagles for so many years, a very underrated coach. Um, Glad he's on Philly. I think would be great for the Vikings offensive coordinator. The Vikings need a better offensive line. Like it's fine, but could be better. I think that could help them. Also, the running game, they use Dalvin Cook a lot in that Vikings offense and Alexander Madison. So I think Stoutland would be great. There's rumors about him going to like college last season. So I think that he could definitely be upgraded with his position. He really deserves. I mean, the Eagles' offense on you have Brandon Books, Lane Johnson, Jason Kelsey, Jason Peters when he was really elite. So I really like that pick. And then defensive coordinator, I'm gonna go Jeff Smith, defensive line coach for the Chargers. Chargers have a great D line. That's where the Vikings talent is at with Hunter, Pierce, Griffin, all those people. I mean, Jeff Smith is so cool that he doesn't spell Jeff Jeff. He spells it Jiff. He doesn't care about spelling. He cares about winning games. That's what we love to see. That's the mentality we like to have. And I think that with the Vikings in a difficult NFC North with the Packers and the Bears are okay, but the Lions kind of building. I think the Vikings really need to win in the trenches. So I think Campbell, you kind of get him as a head coach guy. Kind of reminds me almost of a John Harbaugh type. I think you build the offense line and running game with Jeff Stoutland and then Jeff Smith. I think you really say, okay, let's build this D line, really play to the Vikings' strengths. So I think the Vikings have the talent for sure, but I just think that this could really help them nail their strengths.
Yeah, definitely Matt Campbell, I think, could be in line for a head coaching gig. Um, for the Vikings, I think he's a really good, been a really good coach for Iowa. I think they've overachieved, especially with not really having a ton of great recruits on their team. And then Jeff Smith, this is his name, or yeah, Jeff Stalin. Yeah, excuse me, two Jeffs.
Oh,
One of them spells it differently though.
I didn't realize that.
Um, Jeff Stalin, I don't know. This one seems a little odd just because I think the run game for the Eagles has been very lackluster. But I do like his offensive line coaching, if that makes sense. Like I like half of his coaching. I think he's done a great job with the offensive line. He's made a ton of Pro Bowlers. Pro Bowlers, I can't say healthy, but Pro Bowlers nonetheless. But no, I don't know. The run game, I think it would be fine if he had a Dalvin Cook to work with for sure. Um, Also, maybe it's just Nick Sirianni's fault kind of too
Yeah, I
for
was
the
gonna
run
say I
game.
think Sirianni calls the plays it's more Sirianni, but I do get that as a concern.
Yeah, and then the other Jeff Smith. Yeah, I love this a lot. I like how you said playing to the Vikings' strengths. Um, I think if you throw him in with the coordinator for the Vikings, he probably the Daniil Hunter would even take another step. The whole D line would, and he brings a lot, I think, to the whole defensive group. I believe just because he's been a coach for the Chargers for 6 years, it says, and he's been, in the NFL for 11. So I think he knows what it takes to make a good defense. So I
Mhm.
definitely like your picks for the Vikings.
Thanks. Yeah, I think this could be the direction they go. All right, Mason, you have the Broncos, so let me know
Yeah.
when you're ready.
Yeah. So the Broncos, I think they fell in the trap for the past two coaches of getting these old defensive coordinators who let's think about the defense. I think it's time they finally go for a young offensive line, a very young offensive line. Kellen Moore, he is extremely young, but I think he has done so well for this Cowboys offense. Um, I think he's going to get a lot of potential suitors this offseason,
Mhm.
just because he's a young mind, and he's done nothing but great things as the coordinator in Dallas. I think when we were talking about Mike McCarthy earlier, I think this is one of the reasons why the Cowboys are so good is Kellen Moore and Dan Quinn. Both of them have been really solid. And I didn't want to give the Broncos another defensive mind because I think they've kind of had enough of those. I think it's time they really invest in that offense for once. Um, and I think Kellen Moore, he is young, but he is respected in that locker room
He used to
for the
play
Cowboys.
quarterback as
Yeah,
well.
he used to play for him. He's very well respected. Dak Prescott, I think, has learned a lot from I think Kellen Moore's experiences. Moore wasn't the greatest quarterback in the NFL, but I think he's been a fantastic coach. Um, and then talking about their offensive coordinator, I go Chris Strasser. Um, I think he's just been a fantastic coach. I mean, he has ton of experience and 33 years. I think that's great because when you have a young coach like Kellen Moore, I think it's good to have
Oh, by the way, for
some.
the audio listeners, Chris Strausser is the Colts offensive line
Yeah,
coach. Wanted to get
yeah.
that
So
away.
yeah, I think he's brings a lot of veteran leadership because Kellen Moore is young, so I think it's good to have a balance. And he's done nothing but well for that offensive line. Um, the Colts offensive line has been one of the best units in the NFL for the past 3 or 4 years. Not great this year, but they're dealing with injuries, especially Quentin Nelson, so you can't really knock him on that at all. But no, I think he's just been a great coach for them, and I just really like the experience factor. Then talking about Marvin Lewis for defensive coordinator for this Broncos team, I absolutely love this. Marvin Lewis has a lot of haters. It says he's a special advisor to the ASU head coach, but he's kind of like half of the defensive coordinator. It's kind of weird how ASU does it. They have two defensive coordinators, excuse me, not offensive, two defensive coordinators. Um, I think he was really great for the Bengals. He didn't take him to the promised land, but I don't think he's not going to be a head coach. I think he's going to be a good defensive coordinator. He's done a lot of great things for the ASU defense. I mean, the ASU defense has been one of the best since he's joined the program. They've been very, very good. He's helped Herm Edwards really transform the ASU program into something pretty good because before it was really, really shaky. Um, but not even that. I think he was a great coach for the Bengals. I just don't think. I mean, he made the playoffs almost every single year. He just couldn't get the wins he needed, but I still think he can provide a lot defensively, especially to the Broncos, because I think the Broncos have gone through these waves of getting defensive coaches and making him head coach. I think it's time they get a former coach, head coach, but they make him coordinator. And I think Marvin Lewis fills that role perfectly.
Yeah, I really love this coaching staff, Mason. I like Kellen Moore a lot. I think that he would be great in the Broncos culture, kind of this young guy that the guys can get around. But I love what he's doing with the Dallas Cowboys. I actually thought last year, when the Cowboys were not doing well, that Kellen Moore could have been head coach. But I think Denver is a great place for him. I just think he kind of fits that Midwest culture or Midwest ethos. Next up, Chris Strausser. I really like that. I think having two veteran coordinators with a young head coach is a really good move. The Broncos offensive line is fine. It could be a lot better. So I really do like that move a lot. And then I really love Marvin Lewis as the defensive coordinator. I was kind of iffy when he first said it, but I really do like the idea. With the Bengals, he has some great defensive players. He's also a assistant coach in that great 2000 Ravens defense. So I feel like that he really has that veteran leadership and can really help those Broncos players like Patrick Surtain, Bradley Chubb, Josie Jewell really reach higher levels than where they're at. So I really like that for the Broncos. Also love the title special advisor to the head coach. Reminds me of the office, like assistant to the regional manager. I don't know why that reminded me of it, but Yeah, I think all of our coaching staffs are good. I like how we kind of went more veteran experience with the coordinators and went young with the head coach. I think kind of that's what the NFL is going like. The Rams, Sean McVay is super young, but you look at someone like the Rams defensive coordinator. I'm blanking on his name, but he's like a veteran guy. So I think that's where the NFL is going. Um, yeah, I think overall we had some really good ideas and pitches. And we usually do the preview, but for this week, for the prediction video that I usually do, Mason's actually going to be joining me. So we'll be doing our thoughts and predictions then. Mason, do you have anything else to say?
No, yeah, I think this was a good video talking about the coaching situations for each team. I think we did a good job of covering it.
Yeah, and I know that the trade deadline is something, but I do want to talk about next week once everything's official. So next week will be the big trade deadline episode. I'm super excited for that one. Should be a lot of fun. And telling everyone, take care and enjoy watching football. Peace.